Hi, and welcome back to Engine Shop Joe. On this channel, you've learned a lot about how engines work, how their systems work when it comes to Cummins anyway. And so it's kind of time to go to school a little bit. By school, I mean you're going to have to put your thinking caps on. We recently had an engine build that really went south on us, and the problem was we could not get it to start, and when it finally did start, we could not get it to run right. And so it happens to the best of us, right? Nobody's exempt from having those nightmares that we have to deal with, and sometimes they're not always in our sleep, are they? We're living them. So it took us about a week and a half from the time we first tried to start this or crank it. About a week and a half, I'm talking about 60 hours. For me, it was on and off between the other stuff I have to do, just going out in the shop and helping. We build it in our shop. It was about 60 hours before we finally got all the bugs out of it, figured out everything was going wrong, and it was running great, and we were able to put it on a shelf ready to go into a machine when the machine needed it. So, some quick background just on the engine. We bought a core. For those of you that don't know what a core is, in our world, the core is a used engine, and we bought it. I don't know where we got it, but we bought it as is, and the person we bought it from assured us that if we barred it over, it turned over. So when we're buying a core, what do we want? We want the block and a good crankshaft. That's where we were starting. Everything else we were going to probably be replacing. We bought this engine, let's call it an engine model A, but we need to turn it into an engine model C. The crank and the block and a few other gears and parts were going to be reusable, but the rest of it not. But that was okay because when we rebuild the engines, we put overhaul kits in them so we could just order a different part number. We put on a different part number head, different part number injectors, all that stuff, right? So in the long run, it was cheaper or more economical for us to buy the rotating core than it was to buy all the parts separately because of all the parts we can use over and the nuts and bolts. I mean, there's a lot of hardware that holds those together. So we bought the core. We put an overhaul kit in it, all new bushings and bearings. We put a new front gear housing on it, a different gear housing, a new different front cover, a new different flywheel housing, a new starter. We put on a Cummins Recon ECM, a Cummins new engine harness, a lot of new sensors, not all of them, a Recon turbocharger and actuator, a new exhaust manifold, Recon head, 6 Recon injectors and new connectors. We put on a new fuel rail assembly because the old one had some rust in it. New fuel lines. We put on a new fuel pump head, a new gear pump. The gear pump cam housing was reusable. A new electric lift pump. And so you get the idea, okay? We put a lot of dough in this engine, and when we got done, it wouldn't start. So we started doing data logs, and then we were physically looking at things and checking things and trying things. And so I'm going to put up screenshots of the data logs for you to just look at with no help on them. Then I will put up the next week the data logs with some areas circled for you to focus on. And then after that, I will put up the data logs and I will go through and explain what was going on and what we did to figure out what was kind of happening. And that will be along with the real world, some photos and videos of what was happening and what we did. And we obviously did figure it out. And it was a culmination of parts we thought were good that weren't, human error, misconceptions, knee-jerk thinking. That's always bad, right? And an example of knee-jerk thinking is, oh, the last 10 times I had this problem, it was part A, so I'm just going to change part A, right? We should know better, right? We're the professionals. So anyway, we got through it, we got it done, and I thought it was really would be a great learning experience for all of you. And what you should take away from this learning experience is process. In other words, how do I think about things? How do I see things? Which way should I go when I'm thinking about a problem? Should I go with this direction of kind of reason or thought, or should I go with this one over here? And then last, everything always does come back to home in terms of common sense. And I know it works like this: A, B, C, D, E, and then F, G, H has to happen. And you got to follow that because you know that's a good path to go down. So that's what this is all about. I'm gonna name all these videos in this series Back to School. And if you are interested in going through this, please do. If you aren't, there'll be other videos up for you to look at and just go, pass on by this. If you want to wait till it's all done and then just watch them all and not do the thinking, I don't recommend that. I think it's good to think through things, and I'll answer comments as I go along. I've been a little busy because I'm helping my son with his Harley Davidson. We're doing some modifications on the engine and the primary drive system and final drive and electronics and things. So his bike's actually outside in my garage up on a lift, half apart. And when I get home from my day job, he's here and we start my night job because he gets home from his day job when I get home from mine. So anyway, I'm kind of a little short here on this video I'm doing on a Saturday. So I'll get them up and we'll get going. And families first. In this house, families first. So we take care of our own, and then we reach out and help others. So on we go, and it's going to be back to school. See you next time on Engine Shop Joe.